This is the NFL Weekend Review Show on the Flex Network.
Going up, coming down, does he come down with it? Does Golden State have it? He's in the end zone, he has!
This is the Flex Network.
Unbelievable!
This is the
Romo
Flex
can't get the spot
Network.
down!
Flex on them.
Run Zeke. Up the middle, he's gone! Zeke's gone! Goodbye, Zeke! Touchdown! Short yardage, pinched in. The dog's got out.
Flex on them, G.
Branding in the gun, third and 8. Crowd making noise. Manning 5 steps. Here comes the run. Taco's got it. That's an Eli Taco. Oh, low snap. He picks it up. He looks. He stands. He rushes. Oh, he's up the middle. He's running up the middle. And boom!
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flex Network is back in action. I hope that you can hear me extra clear today, see me extra clear today. I've upgraded the old computer, so I'm hoping I'm coming through good. I am Flex Mike at Flex Mike 11 on Twitter. Alex Torres already checking in. He says, "Here I am checking in. Stick around. We've got some things to talk about." The man to my side is the SnowMan at AJS Dead Snow on Twitter. What's going on, Snow?
Oh, it is beautiful, man. Another season has come to an end, and another championship ring is going to the GOAT.
Yep, that's very true about that. That a lot of things went down, There's a lot of news floating around. There's obviously we had the Super Bowl to talk about, so we will dive into that, but before we get started on some of this other stuff, Snow, give me a quick just some thoughts on the Super Bowl. How do you feel it went? How do you like the game? What do you think about the Bucks? We obviously know that the Bucks beat the Chiefs at this point 31-9 in a pretty good butt kicking, but what'd you think about it?
Oh, it was a good game. Don't get me wrong. Just watching the entire game from start to finish, you could obviously tell that the Buccaneers wanted and needed this game to go their way, and it did. It went their way. Kansas City didn't have an answer for the Buccaneers at all. I mean, I know we're going to get into this about everyone out there on social media saying the refs gave it to the Buccaneers. We know who the NFL wants, to win the Super Bowl because they're hosting, because they're the host city. Silence that noise, guys, because what the Chiefs did at Super Bowl 55 is they did not show up to play. They were essentially the field goal kicking team, bar none. They only kicked field goals at Super Bowl this past week, and they were not ready. Yes, well, let's be real honest. The refs, before we get too far, the refs. There were a lot of calls. There were some calls out there that were 100% called right at the game. I would say 85% was yes. Good call, ref. That's what it was. I would say even 10% of the calls were, okay, maybe, yeah, okay, we get it. But there are, I would say, maybe 5% of the calls at that game that were like, maybe not. But again, we're not the ones making the calls on the field, and unfortunately for Kansas City, you get called for I'm trying to bring up on my side.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of the calls that I really disagreed with. Number one, I'll start by saying the calls did not affect the game to the point where it's like you lose 31-9.
Oh yeah.
That's a significant gap, right? So like you would have to have some big time game changing calls, right? One of the
Mhm.
calls that and it was really the last 2 minutes of the first half was when the majority of the calls came in that I thought were that I thought were unneeded or just kind of a little unrealistic.
You,
I know they called a PI on the Chiefs late in the first half, which Antonio Brown ended up scoring a touchdown on the very next play because it gave the Bucks the ball at the 1, whatever.
uh-huh.
But Tom Brady throws the ball basically out of the back of the end zone. I think he was targeting Mike Evans, and it was an uncatchable ball. Was the player doing some pass interference related things? Yes, but the ball was definitely uncatchable. It was way up above his head. It was way out in front of him. All that stuff. But I felt so weird about it all because at the end of the first half, I felt those calls played a part in being able to take the life out of Kansas City. Because
I can agree to that.
instead of being down 14 to whatever, now they're down
3.
21. Yeah, now they're down 21-3. And that's a much bigger deal going into halftime.
Mhm.
And so it kind of took the life out of them. And it doesn't matter though because Tampa Bay did a good job.
Oh
If you
yeah.
remember week 12 when the Bucks and the Chiefs played, Tyreek Hill had 279 yards, I believe it was, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he absolutely torched Tampa Bay. This time around, Tampa Bay said, "Well, he's not beating us. We're gonna bracket Tyreek Hill." Tyreek Hill was non-existent. Still had plenty of opportunities to make catches. I mean, there were multiple plays where Pat Mahomes threw the ball downfield and he's hitting players square in the face mask
Mhm.
that could have been touchdowns. I mean, you're talking
Oh.
you're talking it could be 31-23 now if some of those catches are made, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that's a problem. Another problem is Kansas City offensive line was just so beat up, and Pat Mahomes was running for his life. Hey, by the way, welcome to the world of Russell Wilson. Welcome to the world of what Aaron Rodgers just experienced in the NFC Championship against Tampa Bay. Those guys got after it, and so
Yeah.
um, I want to have this quick conversation. I want to talk about
Shoot.
goats, right? We talk about the goats. Who are the
Yes.
goats to the sport? Everyone loves to compare players. They want to say who's the goat of this, who's the goat of that. And normally the measuring stick has a couple notches on it. One of the notches is, okay, are you a winning quarterback? What do your stats look like? Another notch could be, are you clutch? A few
Mhm.
more notches could look like, how many playoff wins do you have? How many conference championships do you have? Do you have an MVP? How many Super Bowls do you have? Right. And
Yeah.
for the end all be all of it all is what? How many Super Bowls do you have? Now we
Mhm.
look up and we realize Tom Brady's got 7. Okay. He's got 7. The only other, team in the NFL,
Teams
teams, entire franchises
is
have
Pittsburgh.
6. Pittsburgh has 6 and Dallas has 5. And I
Um
believe San Fran has 5 as
no, no,
well.
no, no. You
Oh,
forgot
sorry.
you forgot the
Yeah.
Pats. The
New
Pats
England
have
has 6.
6.
Yes. Well, in thanks to Tom Brady. Look at it
Thanks
now.
to Brady.
Right.
Let's just
So as far as all that goes, Tom Brady's the GOAT, right?
yeah. Bar none. There's no question about it. Now, you have 7 Super Bowl rings. You have the most Super Bowl rings compared to the rest of the teams in the NFL. You got the Steelers, 6. The Patriots, who have 6 individual, team wise. And below that, a combined of, just the Super Bowl teams that have, made the Super Bowl and won it. You have more than them combined. This is literally bar none. Brady is the GOAT, hands down. There's no more discussion about it. Until you get, 7 Super Bowl rings or you can get 8, there's no question anymore of
Right.
who is the man in the NFL.
So what do you think? Or Alex Torres, he says the Chiefs look like the Cowboys. Well, they definitely did Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
Um, but what do you say to the people who say Tom Brady's not the GOAT?
Are you kidding me? What drugs are you taking? I understand if you are, you've been living under a rock and thinking that, uh, shoot, who, someone just name a quarterback off the top of the head, and they're the best. I'm sorry, that's no bueno, because when you have seven Super Bowl rings combined as a quarterback, you can legitimately say and etch it in stone, etch it in the history books that you are the greatest quarterback in the NFL. Period. End of sentence, end of story. There's not another chapter to be written about it unless someone comes along in the next 7 years, or actually in the next 8 years, and I'm talking about quarterbacks that have rings already besides Tom Brady, like Patrick Mahomes, like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Unless they can get into more Super Bowls and win them, Brady has the record, has the title, and it's over. Like, you can't say, oh, well, he was not clutch in time. I'm sorry. He is clutch because he has the 7 rings on his fingers that say, I am the world champ. Nothing
Totally
else.
agree. Alex Torres chiming in here. He says that Brady took he took Mahomes to QB camp. Yeah, he definitely did.
Oh, yeah.
And so that kind of brings up another topic here, and it made me kind of reflect on when we talk about guys, and we're going to label these different guys of the goats, the past goat, the present goat, the future goat, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How quick, and this doesn't mean anything. This doesn't mean that I'm discounting any things that Mahomes has done or will do or any of that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
how quick was the NFL media, ESPN, CBS, you name the outlet that reports on sports news.
Yeah.
How quick was everyone to go ahead and say, "Oh, Mahomes is a GOAT. He's the best. He's the best quarterback in the NFL." And it's like, man, I could take 10 quarterbacks in the NFL probably, and if I put them on the Chiefs and I gave them a stable of running backs, like, speaking on that, did you realize that LaShawn McCoy was on the Chiefs last year when they won the Super
Mm-hmm.
Bowl, and on the Bucks this year when they won a
Yep.
Super Bowl? Didn't take a snap in either game. How insane is that?
Hey, that's even more. Think about this. You have someone that was on both teams of championships. That's kind of like oh shoot, who am I thinking of? Like a Steve Kerr who has
No,
rings with the Bulls and who has a
no.
ring with Golden State.
Well, Steve Kerr contributed to those '90s Bulls teams.
True.
You know who
I
you're
was
thinking
thinking of
of?
the
You're
essence
thinking
of
of, remember the old time University of Gonzaga great Adam Morrison? When Adam Morrison
oh
went to the NBA, he sat on the bench for some teams, for some Kobe teams that won rings. I don't
yeah.
know how many rings he has right now. Actually, do a quick Google search on that for me, because I know that Adam Morrison has some rings and he never saw the floor unless it was cleanup duty or something like that. But to my
Adam
original
Morrison. All
to my
right.
original point on this whole thing is, we as the people who are doing podcasts, YouTube shows, you're on NFL Network, any of these different sports outlets. We're talking about we're talking about anointing Patrick Mahomes the GOAT. So Adam Morrison has 2 rings.
09 and 10. He has
Yeah.
2
With the Lakers.
rings with the Lakers.
Yep. That was the what? That was the Kobe Pau Gasol years.
That was 09 Lakers.
I'm pretty sure that was the Kobe Pau Gasol years.
I want to say so because that was also that 09 year was the first without the Sonics.
Yeah. Don't get me
So-
started. You're gonna get me to cuss on live
Hey.
air right now.
Hey, remember, I'm there too, man.
Okay, so let's get back to Patrick Mahomes. We were talking about Patrick Mahomes. How quick were we to anoint Patrick Mahomes as the GOAT, as the best quarterback in the NFL? Like I said, you could put anywhere between 5 and 10 guys on the Chiefs, and they could operate at the level that Patrick Mahomes operates at. Not saying they're better than him by any means, but what I am saying is let's look at the record books for a second, right?
Mhm.
So when we look at the record books, we talk about, okay, how long's this guy been playing? Realize the first year Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith in Kansas City. That is when that season ended. Kansas City trades away Alex Smith. Patrick Mahomes is the starter. That very next year, they lose in the AFC Championship. Yeah, they lose an AFC Championship to Tom Brady and the Patriots. A lot of people say that was a weird ending, but it doesn't matter. Then the next year, win the Super Bowl, obviously, and then the following year, which was this past Sunday, they don't show up. Christopher Leon Buckner here says Mahomes is still on track to be the GOAT. His line got him demolished. And here's the second half of my point. My point is we were so quick to anoint him the GOAT, right? But let's talk about something for a second that's a little bit closer to you and me. Patrick Mahomes' career so far is lining up exactly the first
Like
few
Russell.
years of Russell Wilson.
Yep.
First year you lose in the playoffs. Russell Wilson lost in the playoffs to the Falcons. Next year, you win the Super Bowl. Okay, just like Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl 48. Okay,
And beating a future Hall of Famer, but a soon-to-be Hall of Famer right now.
soon to be Hall of Famer. And then you go to the next year, and both teams go to the Super Bowl again. Both teams lose to Tom Brady, even though we shouldn't have. We showed up in our Super Bowl.
We know the history of that. This is just a skip,
Yeah,
a move to the side.
Yeah,
We know what happened.
I'm saying we showed up in our Super Bowl, and that's all that really matters there. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So Alex Torres says he will be elite, but he won't get 7 rings. Brady is the GOAT. Another thing, dude. So Brady's in 10 Super Bowls.
He's only missed 3 Super Bowls since he's played.
Exactly. People also need to understand that Tom Brady was lucky to be on he was a part of a dynasty. How many people can say that, during my tenure in the NFL, I was a part of a dynasty? Not
a whole lot.
Not many, because people sometimes act like dynasties pop up overnight. Like they're just, I was part of the dynasty. Dynasties that have been relevant have been, let's go back, the 72 Dolphins. They were
the only perfect team.
Yes, ever. And then you talk about the Cowboys in the 70s and the Cowboys in the 90s. You talk about the 49ers. You talk about the Patriots in the early 2000s. And that's it. I mean, the Patriots were the last team to win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah, 03-04. And there's still only 7 teams to have won back-to-back. Green Bay with 66 and 67. The Dolphins at 72 and 73. The Steelers did it twice. 74, 75, 78, 79. The Niners at 88, 89. The Boys 92-93, Denver 97-98, and then the Patriots 03-04.
So Alex Torres here says Seahawks almost went back to back. Yeah, bro, we know. Okay, we know.
Trust
Anyway,
me, we know.
so let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about some news that was out there in the NFL world this week. For us, we'll talk about like all this Russell Wilson stuff. People talk. You know how I know it's the off season, Snow?
When you talk about big trades coming down the pipe that people are thinking is so crazy.
Not just that, dude, but just listen to this. Every year, um, all these Russell Wilson wants to be traded. The Seahawks are gonna trade Russell Wilson. Blah blah blah. I mean, people are they're always saying this stuff, and this is how I know it's the off season. Everyone's mad at Russell Wilson, right? Oh, how dare you go to the media and say this or that, right? So Russell comes out and says he's tired of being hit. Like, exactly.
Can you believe what the people are saying now? They're Egger? Come on. Man.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those things where it's the off season because all the crazy storylines happen. I remember when Russell was in his contract negotiations, there was all these rumors that, oh, Russell's getting traded to the New York Giants, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, you can trade him. Like, as a fan, like, I'm gonna be ticked because he's the best quarterback in franchise history. But if
besides Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah, but he's surpassed Matt Hasselbeck in a
I
lot
know.
of statistical categories.
I know.
Okay. But my point is, if you trade him away, we better get the farm. Like the entire farm, plus the house, all the animals, like everything.
The clothes,
yeah,
the land. Literally, they better be willing to trade their entire future for the next 5 years, 20 years. Right here,
10 is probably the magical number there, but
maybe get it at 12 at least.
Yeah,
get it at 12.
I mean, I think this is just a growing concern because you have to look at it in this way, and this way being, and here I'm gonna put this comment by Alex Torres up here. He says Wilson traded for Deshaun Watson. So here's the thing. You have to entertain it, Snow, because you don't know. Russell Wilson traded. Number one, Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback. Deshaun Watson is not right now. He's got the numbers. But if you would have put Russell Wilson on that Houston Texans team last year, he damn sure would have had them more than 4 wins. That's all I'm saying.
I will give you that. More than 4 wins, but still, there is no possible reasoning for Russell Wilson to be traded. Let me make sure I say this clearly, as crystal clear for everyone. Russell Wilson is a Seattle Seahawk. There is no chance, no fathom of any conception that Russell Wilson is going to leave or be traded unless they're willing to, trade lands to get Russell Wilson. You better sell the state to get Russell Wilson.
Right. So everyone's upset because Russell Wilson goes out into the media after a report about how he wants to be protected better. And we look at it now, right? We talk about, okay, how many times has Russell Wilson been sacked in his career? The answer, 394. He's 6 shy of 400, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about this for a second because I'm very aware that he's been hit a lot. He's probably the most hit quarterback in the league we've consistently struggled with our offensive line. And
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, it did not start in the Pete Carroll era with a bad offensive line. Pete Carroll
No.
built and John Schneider built an offensive line, drafted an offensive line. The downfall started when they decided to trade all-pro center Max Unger to the New Orleans Saints for Jimmy Graham, who did a whole lot of nothing while he was in Seattle. I mean, he had good stats the last couple
Yeah.
of years, but um,
It
but
wasn't. It wasn't as
wasn't worth
impactful
it.
as it could have been.
It wasn't worth it because if you know anyone who plays offensive line, you know that the center is the anchor of that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
The center doesn't get hurt because he's in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Normally. So it started to wither away there, but I don't know. I look at it and I say, man, you can't get mad at Russell Wilson. You can get mad for his the way that he went to talk about being frustrated with the amount of times he's getting hit. He went to the media as opposed to keeping it in house and stuff like that. Because now you run the risk of alienating your teammates, right? And you look at Seattle's offensive line last year in comparison to this year, and it took strides. They took steps forward. They drafted a guy in Damian Lewis who was pretty good. Dwayne Brown, our left tackle, was solid over there. And the other guys that had to fill in here and there,
Yeah.
they did their best. But you also got to remember, we played the Los Angeles Rams and Aaron Donald 3 times. We've
Uh-huh.
played some good defensive lines, and so those are some things to think about. And
Yeah.
I would say I agree with you, Snow. I'm 100% there with you. There's no way in hell Russell Wilson gets traded from the Seahawks, but I'll also say never because you don't
Yeah.
know what could happen.
Yeah. It's one of those things where in your heart and your soul that this person's not leaving for another team. He's not going to get traded. He's built a legacy in one city. And he's a part of the Sounders, ownership group. He's committed to being in Seattle. But if history has taught us anything, remember, when you have players that are staples, that are forefronts, that are icons, and you get too comfortable with them to the point where you know that they're not going to be traded, then they'll get traded. Look at Edmonton Oilers up in back in the day. They got comfortable with Wayne Gretzky winning all those Stanley Cups for them. And then in a flash, he was traded to the Kings, which I still love to this day because I am an Anaheim Ducks hockey fan. He did nothing down there in LA. Yeah, he won, he made it to the, he won the Western Conference Finals with them. He was a good, pickup for them, but he did nothing in LA. No Stanley Cups, nothing. And my Ducks were the first team to win the Stanley Cup in California. So I got that over the LA Kings every time. That you had the greatest player on ice. And you did nothing with them.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing can be said about a football player. You may have the greatest quarterback in the world. And think about it with Tom Brady. He won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots.
Yeah.
But he left to go to Tampa Bay. And lo and behold, first year at Tampa Bay, Super Bowl champs.
So I'll say this, right? We talk about Russell Wilson getting sacked. I'm looking right now at the sacked career leaders since 1970, since they started keeping the stat. Brett Favre obviously leads the way. He's been sacked 525 times over a 19-year career. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson's already at number 20 with 394. And the rate that he's going, I mean,
the rate.
there's a combined, let's see, what is that? That's 26 sacks between Okay, let's put it like this: Russell's at 20 with 394.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Rivers is at 10 with 464.
Oh, he's in spitting distance.
Yes. So that's a big
Especially if he has
deal.
another. If Russell has another year like he did the last 2 years being sacked, oh, he'll pass Philip Rivers.
Exactly. So here's the thing. I have a remedy for this situation from a personnel / whatever. Um, from the personnel, I would say you probably need to add another lineman or two. Get like Dwayne Brown's solid. Damian Lewis was a rookie last year, and so was solid for a rookie.
Mhm.
Our center we need to re-sign. Unless they're going to go after a big name center. Center's got to be there. We got to have it.
Yeah.
But those guys can continue to get better. They can continue to improve their game.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to get a left guard or a right guard, depending on how much confidence they have. But also, I think going back to kind of the formula of Pete Carroll football, which is play, that stout, tough defense and running the ball on offense. Seattle really got away from running the ball this year. Their pass to run
they did.
ratio was 60-40. And in a Pete Carroll offense, that is not something that he wants to do. And this is where I get kind of excited with this Shane Waldron guy. He can come in and add some things that Brian Schottenheimer couldn't add. And so I think there would be a good mixture there. We can get back to running because we have the running backs if we choose to re-sign Chris Carson
Mhm.
and if Rashad Penny comes back like actually healthy and all that stuff. So there's some
Yeah.
things that can be done, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think this is just kind of like some off-season nonsense. This is what's going to happen with Russell Wilson. He's more than likely not going to get traded, and he's going to go and get in his bunker somewhere and train his butt off like he does every single offseason. He's going to train
Mhm.
every single day. He's going to work hard, and he's going to come back, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. This is the part of the season where it's time to rest. By the time we get to maybe give it April, maybe even June, start getting into that flow again of working out and hard and getting the mind and body ready for NFL season, and depending on how far along we are in the COVID world, get together with his offensive line and work with them so that they're in connection to each other. Like, you need to protect me, so I'm not trying to pull magic out of my helmet every single time. Because if you saw Super Bowl 55 and you saw what Patrick Mahomes was doing, that's basically a carbon copy of what Russell Wilson does almost every season. He is a freaking magician. And unlike, granted, Patrick Mahomes was literally running for his life and making some passes that were like out of this world, and unfortunately didn't get caught. Russell can make things happen at the drop of a hat if he can. Either he'll burn you with the run or he can burn you with the throw. But if his offensive line is just going to be like wet tissue paper and let people through, then it's going to be a serious problem for Russell. And again, we need to get that offensive line. The key word, the offensive line, the front seven, strong. Because they're not even going to be having a draft pick in the first round. So you got to be looking at second rounders, some thirds,
that's
and
assuming
the offseason.
That's assuming there's no trade.
True.
There's a lot to be said for a lot of people think Jaron Reed might be on the market out there to be traded. I don't know, man. It's one of those situations where it's like, man, I don't just see John Schneider and Pete Carroll sit there and not try and make some moves to get some more draft picks, because they typically like to do that. And we need some cap relief.
Yeah.
Just to be honest,
unfortunately, we do.
We don't have a lot of cap space. And so
No.
Some
And
things that will help with the cap space is signing Jamal Adams to his extension, or other things that can help with cap space is
restructuring contracts.
restructuring like a Russell Wilson deal, which I think Russell Wilson would be very down for if it makes the team more competitive, which is what
And
he wants. He wants to win. He wants to be in the playoffs. He wants to win Super Bowls, all those things. And then you talk about some other things of like, okay, well, Carlos Dunlap was there, played his butt off, played well. We can get that guy. We can get him signed to a deal. Um, there's probably not a whole lot of market out there for him, just based off his age. He's not going to get a big 5-year deal like he wants because of his age, but he
yeah.
could get a 2-3 year deal, not a big deal.
And then
And
maybe at the 2 or maybe at the 3-year mark an extension
yeah,
if it goes right for him. But
yeah,
not a solid 5-year deal. It's more like going to be a 3, maybe a 2 with an option for an extension later. So,
right. So there's some things that Seattle needs to do. A lot of it they can't really do until the whole free agency stuff starts, which is in March.
mhm.
Chris Carson, people need to realize that Chris Carson was out. Who was the number one running back? Who got the most money in free agency from the running back position last year? Do you know?
Not for sure off the top of my
I
head.
I know who it is. I was just wondering if you know. And it was Melvin Gordon, and he got
Oh
and he
yeah,
and
yeah.
he got 2 years for 16 million, which is $8 million a year. What the days of the Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott money it's all dried up. It's gone. Right?
Well, I would maybe at least until we get fans back in the stands and NFL gets money back
No,
flowing through their veins.
I still
But
think that it is not that way, because I think that teams aren't they don't want to play, or they don't want to pay a running back what Dallas is paying Ezekiel Elliott right now. They're paying him stupid money because they were dumb and they went. Zeke jumped the line in front of 5 other Cowboys, or however many it was, and got paid
a whole
earlier than
lot.
he should have, and a whole lot for that matter. I would have let him walk if he was going to be like that. That's just me. I'm a little old school when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, so there's some things Seattle needs to do, and I expect them to kind of make some of those moves and do some of those things. And some guys are going to walk, and like
Well,
some guys are in free agency, and we'll see what happens.
well, I mean, at least from the NFL side, for different teams, I would think, for a running back to get an Ezekiel Elliott or even a more so deal
That's
more
not
than
that's
Ezekiel.
not
What?
happening.
Hold on. I'm probably thinking that it would have to be some running back who has baller numbers for the entire length of his contract, like literally like running across the world and scoring wise, like crazy numbers to the point where, like, dude, we need to lock him down. If it's an opportunity to keep him, if it's not a contract extension, if it's a brand new deal to where he is earning his money, he's getting in the end zone, and he is literally running around the world with speeds, then they'll get him that type of deal, maybe more so than Ezekiel Elliott. But I'm kind of now seeing, agreeing with you that no one's going to get an Ezekiel Elliott deal for a running back.
Well,
Now,
here's the thing. Every year there's all these running backs that come out of the draft, and sometimes you hit on them and sometimes you don't.
oh yeah,
And the only guy right now in the league that I would say would even warrant an Ezekiel Elliott type of contract is who? The back-to-back rushing champion, Derrick Henry.
oh Henry,
Yeah, Captain King Henry, Captain Stiff Arm, all that. There's no one else that really warrants that type of money. You
mm-hmm.
could make an argument for a guy like Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara just because they do so much in a passing game as well,
Yeah,
where you could justify it. But the only guy that really warrants that type of money right now, as we speak, is
yes,
King Henry. And
mm-hmm.
so running backs are a dime a dozen, as they say. You can
Yeah,
get them. You can get them. There's plenty of them. You can figure it out. But let's move on, because I want to talk about something that is it's kind of entertaining, because these Cowboys fans are going wild right now.
Oh,
They're
boy.
losing their mind.
Oh boy.
all these-
Unfortunately, we don't have a Cowboy Cam who could flip his lid on this.
Yeah, and he already flipped his lid on it earlier this week on the Flex Network.
Yeah,
He put a
true.
little live video together. But one of the things that the Cowboys fans are freaking out about is Dak Prescott followed the Washington football team on Instagram. And so what does that mean? Is there an underlying message here? Is Dak sick and tired of the contract negotiations that are going on with the Jones boys, and does he want to go play for Washington?
There's some problems with that. Okay, because number one, well, let's look at Washington's aspect. Washington, they have their quarterback. They have Alex Smith, who just made the comeback story of the year, bar none.
Comeback player of the year,
Yes.
but is he really their quarterback? He's up there.
I
in
would
age.
probably say maybe for a couple more years, maybe even maybe like 2-3 years, depending on how well he does. Next 2 years, maybe. And depending on what they do in the draft this year. I mean, if they look to get a quarterback this year at number 19, unless they trade up, or draft in the draft next couple of years, maybe. But to say that looking at trying to get Dak, who's going to be coming off of injury, so there's some damaged goods right there along, coming from Dallas already. And it's an interdivisional conference rivalry right there. You never, and let's emphasize this, you never send one of your best assets to your own rival. That's just stirring trouble right there on both ends of the spectrum.
Well, they wouldn't send him anywhere. Worst comes to worst,
I'm just saying.
They franchise tag him again, and he'll pull a Kirk Cousins and eventually walk away if it happens that way. But the problem is they got to pay the man.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason the Cowboys are relevant these days is because of Dak Prescott.
Back the truck up.
Exactly.
We need this money.
Before he got hurt, I mean, he was throwing the ball all over the yard, and the problem isn't Dak Prescott. The problem is 100% that defense. I mean, the corners are suspects. They have no real safety.
No.
The D linemen were suspect most of the season. They couldn't they couldn't do a whole lot. I mean, they were not good when it was all said and done. They just were not a good football team.
I will give the most, but at least they weren't this. That's all I'm going to say. At least they were not Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
So, and also, again, Dallas this is their franchise quarterback, and everyone knows that in Dallas, that Dak Prescott is the franchise. Andy Dalton, no, sir. You saw what he was capable of during the season after Dak went down.
Well, he was on a 1-year deal, so he won't even be in Dallas after.
No,
his contract.
And depending on what Dallas is going to do at number 10 of the draft coming up, if they're going to invest in, a wide receiver, a running back, offensive line, if they're going to invest in the defense. So you're looking at someone who may not be getting a trade here to go, to Washington, just saying, for Dak. It might just be something to like maybe inch something in the, to get people talking of like, oh, he's following the Washington whatchamacallits. Dallas better be, better do something, sign him to his deal. So it just may be a stunt for him to like, you know what, maybe if I follow Washington, maybe I'll get him to, maybe get a little up in my price a little bit. Like I'm threatening to, maybe looking to go to the whatchamacallits. But if anything with the whatchamacallits, I would try to at least get DeAndre Jordan out of Houston. And let's be real honest. Houston's saying they're not trading. They're not trading their quarterback
Try and get Hugh. Oh, you mean Deshaun Watson?
Sorry, Deshaun Watson. Sorry, I
Yeah,
meant Deshaun
you said
Watson.
DeAndre
Sorry.
Jordan. I'm
Yeah.
like, wrong sport, wrong
Yeah,
sport.
sorry. Wrong sport. Yeah, Deshaun Watson. He wants out of there. I would not be surprised if we get to preseason, if there's a preseason this coming year, and he sits out every single game. He does not show up for camps. He does not show up for OTAs. Nothing. He sits out, and then start of the season, he sits out.
Yeah, here's the thing about that. And if you remember, you can remember back to the Seattle Seahawks and Earl Thomas, right? Earl wanted a new deal. He was sitting out, all that stuff, right? But when the preseason ends and the regular season's getting ready to start, you have to report, because if you don't report, it counts against a year of eligibility or not a year of eligibility, a year of service for you towards your pension as an NFL player when your career's over. So what that means is if you don't report the way that you're supposed to, then you're going to have to pull a Le'Veon Bell situation and sit the whole year out. And so that's a big deal.
Well, for someone who is adamantly saying, I want out of Houston against what the team is saying, what the head honchos are saying, that no, we want Deshaun. We want him in here. We want him to be, he's our franchise quarterback, and he wants out. Bar none, I believe that the player has the more pull around, because he's not the one, that doesn't have, he's the one who has to show up and throw.
Yeah.
Would you rather have someone who just shows up and then just half-asses it and just blatantly makes you want to sit him down to the point where you ship him off somewhere? Or would you rather just get rid of the potential headache that's going to be coming down the line and get rid of him now and get some money from him and get some picks and players?
The problem is it's not as simple as that, right? Because Deshaun
Watson,
he's got this monster contract right now. So even if you are talking trade destinations, you have to take into account that you got to have a team that could logistically figure all that out. They got to be able to fit things into their salary cap, and if not, they're going to have to trade players, cut players, do all these different things to be able to get a guy like Deshaun Watson. But
can they restructure the contract?
They could, but they're in all likelihood.
I'm just spitballing the ideas out there for that.
So there's restructure rules, right? So you can't just be like, okay, I agree to pay you $10 million a year for 5 years. So you got a $50 million contract. And to get out of the contract, you can't just be like, okay, here's $50 million. We're going to convert it to a signing bonus, and then you have no cap hit. That doesn't it doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah,
so
I was just figuring it.
Yeah. So there's definitely rules to restructuring, and it all depends on how the contract's written. These agents and these people who write these contracts, these front office executives, GMs, scouts, all these different people, they are writing these contracts in a very specific way, and they know what they're doing, and they put certain language in it for a very specific reason. And it's for stuff like this. And so so it's Houston, if the new head coach they have, if he can't get on the same page with Deshaun Watson, you're going to see a situation where he's got to go. But I'll tell you this, if he moves, it'll be before any preseason games start, because you got to you got to get over to your team, you got to get infused into their system and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Who do you think? I mean, and let's be realistic here. Who do you think who needs, the key word, needs a quarterback right now for this upcoming season? What team would you think would want to take the idea of Deshaun Watson?
I think San Francisco needs a quarterback. I think not Detroit, because they put all that stock into getting Goff over there, but I think Minnesota could possibly need a quarterback, because I've heard a lot of trade rumors with Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
They could need a quarterback. Chicago definitely needs a quarterback. That's the
Yeah,
very firm.
Chicago.
That's I mean, even though they had a chance to draft Deshaun Watson, they chose to pass up Watson, Mahomes, and go after Trubisky. But um,
What
there's
about
a lot.
Denver?
Denver definitely needs one. I think they have some faith in Drew Lock still. But they do need one. Um, there's a lot of teams across the league that you could get a Deshaun Watson and it would be a decent upgrade. I mean, even to Detroit still. You think if Detroit had Goff and Deshaun Watson in the same quarterback room that like
Oh, that
yeah.
one's tough. I mean,
No, it is tough because you
that one's
made
a
that
tough
trade
decision
and
there.
yeah, but
But I would rather take the golf over Watson
no way. You're
in a Detroit setting. In a Detroit setting,
well,
I would take golf.
the problem is Detroit wouldn't know how to use Jesus Christ if he was there playing quarterback for him. They would ruin the morning headlines would be the morning after Jesus retires. The Detroit Lions have squandered the career of Jesus Christ, the savior of the universe. Like, okay.
No. It would be the headlines would be saying, "Thank God I'm out of Detroit."
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened to Matt Stafford. He's heading to Hollywood.
Yeah, it'd be a to pull a line from Cartman from South Park. Screw you guys, I'm going home. So
Oh God.
yeah, man, there's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of rumors out there right now. We're in rumor season because we're in that crazy time of year where trades can happen, but we're not. Where free agency's not open yet. You don't really know what's going on with, contract negotiations, any of that type of stuff. But you know, we're obviously
Well,
gonna be all over that. We're gonna be
oh yeah.
covering that stuff as it goes down. Give me some last thoughts, Snow. I know you got some
Well,
things you want to say.
two little things. Because I know that I think it's time for you to have your gloat moment because it is the end of the season. You can bask, you can smile, wave, to your adoring fans out there that you are the champion of the Flex Network in Pick'ems this year, sitting at 171, 95 and 1. You beat us handsomely. Well, not really handsomely. I mean, you didn't dominate, but you beat us. You dominated.
Let me
The
say
season?
this. Just like Tom Brady, I am the GOAT on the airwaves of the Flex Network in Pick'ems, okay? Not
Well,
only am I the GOAT, we've been doing Pick'ems for 2 years, and I've won both of them. So I'm undefeated in Pick'ems. I shall not be touched. In all fairness, you were not there as much last year, so you get a
last year.
chance. You'll get a chance to
Make a
up
comeback.
it, make a comeback next year. Not necessarily make a comeback, but stay.
But hold your horses there, my good sir. Not so fast, because while you could brag, you won the season. I'm the only one out of this entire group who thought that there was no repeat champion this year. And I'm the sole person to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win Super Bowl 55. I'm the only one.
That is correct. I mainly chose to go against Tampa Bay just because I didn't want Tampa Bay to win. I just felt like it was ridiculous. But
and my jersey's on the way. It will be here in March.
Your
I will have my
TB12 black Tampa Bay jersey. We know it is on the way.
Yes, it is. It is on the way, and I will wear it proudly before on the first game of the season for the chance.
Well, Snow, I'll tell you this. I hope you have fun with your little consolation participation trophy jersey. Okay, I won the Pick'em this year, just like I did last year. And next year, I'm going for 3-peat. We'll see what happens. But that will do it for us here tonight on the Flex Network. I am Flex Mike at Flex Mike 11 on Twitter. Follow the Flex Network on Twitter at the Flex Network 1 on Twitter. You can get your football and fantasy football content there. We have a new MMA channel. It's at MMA Evergreen. It's will be boxing, MMA, UFC, maybe some kickboxing stuff like that going on. And then Snow is obviously running our Flex Network wrestling content on Twitter at FlexNet PW Elite _PW Elite. And then, of course, the Flex Network Wrestling on YouTube as well. We got it all covered there. The NFL season is over, unfortunately. Do us a favor and hop on to your favorite podcasting platform and subscribe to our podcast, the Flex Network, on all of your platforms. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well. We're all over the place. The Flex Network 23 on Instagram, and just look up the Flex Network on Facebook. If you like what you see, share it with your friends. If you like what you hear, share it with your friends. Text it to a buddy. Let them know, hey, check out this podcast. See what they got going on. They're talking all types of nonsense. There's one guy that loves him some wrestling. Another guy loves him some football. And, we're officially in the off season now. So
Yep.
we will see what happens. But
actually, let me get into summer break just break mode here, because
yeah.
we on vacation now from football.
Yeah, he's got to put his sunglasses on. So, okay. Like I said, I am Flex Mike at Flex Mike 11 on Twitter. He is a SnowMan at AJS Dead Snow on Twitter. We are the Flex Network. We will catch you guys later.
Peace out.